Film Companion gets you your film fix. Hit the bell icon and subscribe to get notified every time we drop a new video.
Yeah, welcome Shubhashish, Ashwini, Raj. It's wonderful to talk to such a sort of exciting and diverse group of filmmakers. Aside from, of course, making films, we are here to discuss short films as you are the official jury of the short film competition this year at the India Film Project. So welcome. It's wonderful to talk to such an exciting roster of filmmakers.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Before discussing, obviously, all the great shots that you guys have watched, I wanted to sort of start by talking a bit about this year. It's been a very strange year, to say the least. We've all been stuck indoors. And you're all writer-directors. Shubhashish, you write your own films. Raj, I know you're juggling multiple projects. Ashwini, you're working on your next film, and I believe you're writing a novel as well. So has lockdown been a good time to write and create, given that it's such a strange time, but we all have more time on our hands as well?
See, there is a dark cloud hanging over your head throughout, and there is this fear and a lot of negative. Of course, it's a shitty phase to be in. There's no two things about it, and nobody is really happy around you. And initial stages, a lot of people were quite depressed and had to be there for a lot of people, discuss it out, and you don't know how you're feeling at the same time. But you're there for each other. But then I really dug back into what I want to do, what I love to do, is to write and is to make stuff. So I got into it very deeply and created those perfect days that I never could, where you get up early, you do good stuff like meditation and stuff, and you get on your cycle, go for an hour, come back with a mask on, and come back and write. So there was a routine that I never had. I formed that routine, and I felt so good when I found the routine that I started encouraging everyone. It's like, why don't you do the same thing?
Yeah.
And so and then suddenly gave me that little pause that I needed to catch up, doing quite a few things. So I didn't have time. It was always on the run. So gave that time to sit back, and once I got into that routine, it became super efficient, super productive. One of the most productive phases I've had. I've written so much stuff that I was happy. I was happy about what I was producing, I was writing, the whole thing. So yeah, I kind of turned it into a very, very productive phase for me.
That's great. And, Shubhashish, for you?
Yeah, I think like everything, it definitely went in phases where you're first you're a person first, before you're a writer. So you're just kind of dealing with the changes around you and how your family is responding to it and how your friends are responding to it. And of course, so it affects you. But there were good phases as well where you have this routine and you're kind of going and you're writing and you're trying to shut out the noise as much as possible. And then you have the natural writer's kind of phase, which is that once you finish something, you kind of let it lie for a while. And then you kind of re-engage as much with the world. So I think it's been, personally for me, it's just been going in phases, and it's been like 6-7 months now. So I've got a bunch done. Happy that there's been some. I think anybody who's done any work is an accomplishment, because at the same time, it's not like a holiday that you've had of 7 months where you can just like completely zen and nothing's happening outside and everything. So I think there was also this kind of overwhelming feeling where people felt that we have to do a lot, we have to make the most of this, but at the same time there is a disaster outside. So I also you kind of have to manage those feelings as well, I think. So yeah, I think for me it's definitely gone in phases.
Yeah, it's also, I think the one lesson which definitely I have learned is that you don't have to be dependent on anyone for anything, and you need to be just on your own. So in a circumstance like this, when you're forced to do things on your own, you kind of realize, first of all, the importance of the people who are there in your lives, and also then you realize that, okay, if I have to do things on my own, I can do it. So, in the sense that that whole rhythm, which is being spoken about, that scheduling, that whole thing, that okay, I'm going to have my meetings only at 4 o'clock in the evening, and I'm going to be finishing all my work from morning to evening. That never happened before, is because I think we were very erratic in terms of giving value to our time, and that was what was most important. That as creative people, what I always felt was that we spent so much time on the outside, that what we need to do, sit and write or create, the art of creation, was kind of always lessened, is because your travel time is there, then you're going and sitting in meetings, and then you're discussing, and then you're coming back home, and then you need to write also, or you need to create. So how do you do so much in a packed day? So this has actually taught me the whole idea of prioritizing your time and making sure that you give each minute of your time is very valuable.
But just coming to shorts, you've all made short films before. Ashwini, you made Ghar Ki Murgi relatively recently. Raj, you made a lot of short films early on in your career, like Shore. And Shubhashish, your short film Kush, it traveled the world. It was even shortlisted for the Academy Awards. So what do all of you feel a short film gives you that a feature film doesn't?
Yeah, who's going first? See, my thing was, short for me was a big deal. A short did a lot for me in my career. A short is how I learned filmmaking. I haven't been to school. DK and I never went to school. We never had a chance to go to school. We discovered writing and filmmaking just discussing with each other while working as something else. So there's absolutely no connection to a film industry or working for somebody. There was no chance, no opportunity, not from film family. So there's nothing. So all that was there was a discussion about films as to how a film is made. How do you break down? How do you make a film? And the biggest window for us to filmmaking was making a short film by yourself. So we actually picked up a camera from an electronic store and said, you act, I'll act, we'll shoot, we'll film each other, and we'll figure out two VCRs next to each other to play here and record here. So that's how we edited the first short film. That I didn't know that we didn't have the editing equipment, nor did we know. So you would take the whole thing, and then his take will be playing, and I'll be recording here, and then forward to my take and record here. So the editing was happening here. So of course there was like a huge glitch, huge a gap. Every time he asks a question, there's like, and then I answer. So there is that. So, but that's how we learned. And it was a very shitty short film. We saw it, we dumped it. I said, no, I'm not going to show this to anybody. It's awful. How do they make it so well? So for me, shorts were filmmaking. Were learning filmmaking. Really, that was film school. And that's how we made it. Our first short film journey is a very interesting one that actually we finally finished, our first short. I'll come to it if we have time, but that's how we learned. And then that's how we thought we're not too bad. Maybe we can write a longer format. That helped in step one. The second short film when we made is when nobody could understand the script we wrote. We wrote a script we thought was great, but nobody was reading scripts. Nobody was like, narrate it. And I was like so bad at narrating it at that time. And it was just like nothing was making sense. Even I was getting bored narrating this story. So we said, you know what, let's go and make a short. So we went and made a short in Mumbai. We went and found a really cool bunch of FTII grads who were good as solid actors. We asked them, and we did it for like almost free, and went and shot around Mumbai. We didn't even know there was you need permissions to shoot on the street. So we are like shooting in train, we are shooting in go downs, wherever we found. We said, hey, stop here, get down, let's shoot a scene here. So before we got caught, we finished the short film. So how that helped was that it told people that this is we took a scene from the script and gave a head and tail and made a short film out of it. So it's like an entity by itself. And so when they saw it, it's like, oh, this is so good. I said, yeah, if you had read the script, this is the same thing in it. But, they got the vision and they got the idea. And that's how we made Shore in the City. And that's how we made 99 too. The fact that somebody said, you know what, these guys can make something. looking at this short film. So I'm gonna trust you with it because we don't know who you are, we don't know who you're related to, we don't know who you worked under. Looks like you can't speak Hindi as well, so I don't know what the fuck you guys are doing here. But the short is something that I could show and say, hey, I can make this. So that's how the second short helped us in actually making our first films here. So I really give a lot of respect and due to short films, and I encourage every single filmmaker that come to meet us, writers, whoever that come to meet us, when they say, well, what can I do, how do I do, I said, make a short. That's all it takes. So yeah, that's my take on short films.
So, was working in advertising, and we used to create a lot of these 25 seconders and 30 seconders, and maximum sometimes we used to get 60 seconders if we were lucky by any chance. So I was used to telling stories in that many seconds, and in this due course of working for so many years and working with so many directors and creating stories, the urge of direction had come in that I need to start directing films now, is because I just truly feel that the kind of stories I was writing was always long format, and then I had to fit in into 45 seconds or 60 seconds. So but the truth was that we all feel, and we have to be true to ourselves, that we all feel that direction is very easy and we can direct. It's like you write a story and you put a camera and you get actors and you can direct. But how do you know that you can direct or you are capable of directing? The only way to know that is to really test yourself and be too true to yourself and do a short film. Because I feel a short film is a preliminary uh, entrance exam to make a feature film.
For me, I had the privilege to go to film school, and there we were obviously watching films and watching movies from around the world. We got to be on each other's sets, but like I think and I was really movie obsessed the whole time. But there was one story I'd heard when I was in school from my economics teacher, and that always stayed with me. I, I saw that I naturally tended to also move towards long format because I guess we were all watching only feature films until maybe like 7 years ago. There was only feature films. So but I wanted to, kind of, this story really stayed with me, and I knew I had to make it. So I had a chance when in the last year you get a couple of grants if you apply and all this stuff. And yeah, so I applied for these grants, and I really wanted to tell this story, and I wanted to learn how to practically make films. Like I felt I understood. I mean, I think because of the medium it is, people understand how to watch cinema mostly, but I really wanted to understand, what does a director do. I felt I hadn't really experienced what does it mean to work with a production designer, what does it mean to work with actors, what does it mean to work with different people. So I think, in long story short, I think that it is the best experience a person can get into learning, because you can read as much and you can watch many films, but I think when you're there in the moment and you have to make decisions, and and you have to work with people, and you have to try to make whatever sense of a vision you have come alive. I think that the first step to that is starting to make a short film, because I think the next time you make something, you realize, oh, okay, I should have prepared this before, or oh, I should have thought about this before, or this is what I can do in editing. So I think doing that process the first 2-3 times makes you understand what the other parts, how the parts are kind of working together. So yeah, for me, a short film did wonders for me in terms of, I didn't even know what a film festival was at that time in my life, and somebody told me, "Oh, this is good. You should submit this." So it helped me like get people to start watching films, and honestly, it helped me to start making films earlier than I expected. So
And Shubhashish, for you, I believe you were 21 when you made Kush, which again traveled the world. I think it won Best Film at Venice. It was shortlisted for the Academy Awards. And Mukti Bhavan, your first feature, you were 25, which again, got so much acclaim from festivals around the world. So was it strange to get that kind of attention and sort of have that success at such a young age? Is that a really strange thing to process?
A little bit. Like I said, I didn't expect any of it because I actually thought my life, because you already have the images of how your life would go. I thought I'd be ADing till I was 30, and then maybe and then I would at some point write a script, and that's kind of what I thought in my mind. But I've been working since I was 16, and so I've been thinking about it for a long time. For me, it was always that was what was kind of driving me to make films. And but yeah, so I think for me it was all a big surprise. Like, I just made the short film while I was in college, and that I thought that would be the end of that story, and I would kind of go find whatever I have to do next. But I think life surprises you, so it's been a pleasant surprise that I'm allowed to kind of do what I love.
A wonderful surprise for sure. And Ashwini, I wanted to ask you about your next film. You've said that you're working on a film on the Infosys founder, Narayan Murthy and his wife. You've said it's not a biopic, but I'm curious to know, at a time where we're making so many films that are either biopics or based on true events, is there more pressure to try and make it sort of distinctive and sort of stand out in some way?
The reason I always maintain that it's a life story. You're talking about people I really admire. For me, biopic is a very used word right now. So yes, of course, we are talking about their story in true sense, in a cinematic way. But it is important that I give respect to these two icons who changed the way we looked at the whole aspect of IT industry in India, and the philanthropy work which Mrs. Sudha Murthy does, and the kind of people they are, who gave hope to so many billions of people. It is important that I just say it as that it's a life story. It's their life story, because it's just that I just coined this word called life story. I just didn't want to put it as biopic. That's all. Nothing beyond that.
Well, just as a selfish audience, it's something we really look forward to seeing, whenever it's ready. And Raj, I wanted to ask you, you are working on some massive projects right now. You and DK are reportedly making a film, with Shah Rukh Khan. You're making the sort of Amazon project for the Russo brothers. And both of you have a very distinct voice. You know a Raj and DK project when you watch it. So do you ever get worried that, we see this a lot with a lot of filmmakers when they make massive projects, their voice gets sort of drowned out in just the scale of things. So does that worry you at all, that the Raj and DK-ness could sort of get diluted when you're working on sort of massive projects?
It's a very complicated question. So let me try to be short. So the idea is not to put an element deliberately into a film. So it naturally gets into the project, into the film or a series. So it's just that you write it and it becomes that. The only time it might not become that is it's somebody else's project, somebody else's film, and then we are told to direct it. So that has happened once in our lives, and once or twice, and then we learn from it that could work very well with a lot of filmmakers, but maybe not us. So the idea is that we realize that we're going to pull back and try and just do exactly what we used to do from the times we made a short film. So where the idea is, the idea is yours, and then you build it in such a way that, it's yours. It's completely yours. There's nothing that you can say that it is. So maybe I'm better off working with my material, is what I realized. And because we are directing it on paper, there is a certain thing that you write and do it. So that's one learning I've had. So as long as we are writing it ourselves, good or bad, it's going to be our kind of film that I want to do. It might work or not work is last thing. That's one thing that lately you don't think about it. anymore, because you can never make a good one, with a total commitment. So yeah, I'm not like thinking, oh my God, it might not look like mine. I guess we don't even pick the subjects that don't look like what I can do. Like, there are certain genres that work very well these days. So we tend not to pick those, even if it's something appealing, because I don't know how to give a spin to it, let's say, or I don't know what's the freshness I'm going to bring to it. Or you get offered a remake or like a film that, this is a beautiful film, why don't you guys do it, or you want this, and you get tempted, but I don't know how to add a flavor to it. I'd be, I can make a nice film, but it would be somebody else's voice, I guess. So I don't know. So I'm not saying this is how it should be. I'm just saying that this is how I think we seem to work. So but it's giving us immense satisfaction in that you just create something, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it's okay. It's still mine. So.
But I have told Raj and DK that they have to write something and I'm going to be directing it. Remember, that's going to happen.
You did say that.
In maybe in 10 years, but I don't care. It has to happen.
You did say that. No, I'm enjoying the collaboration these days with other filmmakers. Like our next series, one of the series we're producing, is I'm also writing with this really talented director, Rahi, who made Tumbar.
Yes.
So, it's crazy because that guy is something else and we are something else, and we've never really worked with another filmmaker. How are you going to interpret this? But we are writing together. So which is hilarious in that sense that, if you meet Rahi, you'll know, he's a unique guy and with a unique set of vision and values and, all that. And now we come from a different angle. So, but I love what's being cooked.
Yeah.
So I like the idea that we're writing together. I'm producing it for him. I'm going to be there backing everything that he wants. I want to be the producer that I never had. So where what do you want? Okay, now let's or he comes back and says, this scene is not working. Can we think of something else? Sure. Or like, I want 100 people today. I said, sure, take it. So, it's that. Because DK and I started off as collaborators, like, we're buddies. And that's the only way we know how to make movies is together, right? We started off together. So for me, it's never been like, I say, my word is the final say. So for me, it's like collaborative effort. So now it's a third person and another person. So now I'm thinking, instead of making one movie in 2 years, that's how long our average was. Like, and I was looking at it, but it's like, I'm writing so much, but I'm making one film because of the actors' days.
Well, I for one would love to watch
collaboration.
I'd love to watch an Ashwiny Iyer Tiwari film written by Raj and DK. I think that would be very cool.
It will happen. One day it will happen.
And I wanted to ask, film productions have started up recently. Raj, you and DK have also sort of started shooting a bit as well. So what do all of you feel is the biggest challenge for filmmakers in the next few months? And how do you feel all of this, everything that's happening, how is this going to change the kinds of stories we tell?
You're asking the most complicated questions. A lot of stuff to say, but again, I'll be trying short. But so I did end up shooting twice now. We ended up finally shooting a short film after like many years. That after the first short film, it's now again, and this time it's not even written by us. So it's written by another writer called Reshu, and a very sweet short film, and we shot it. And all the COVID protocols and all that stuff. And I really enjoyed this short. And, it gave me an outlet to experiment in a new style that I've been wanting to try. And so it's like a newer style of filmmaking for us. So it's good. It's looking good. And so, yeah, it is a very, very strange times. So I'm saying that you find creative ways to make stuff is what this is teaching us. This back to again short film days where we didn't have anything. So DK and I would go and make a short film ourselves. It's like we figure out how to shoot, you figure out how to edit, you figure out how to do sound. Then Foley we used to do, like watching it in one shitty speaker, we used to do keys and walking sounds so that you don't know that there was a sound designer who could do it, or you don't know if you can pay them. So you're doing it yourself. So I think it's the time to learn all that, experiment all that. And we used to I want a dolly shot, or we don't know what the hell, how do you do a dolly shot? Two people are there. So we used to drive around and look for a shopping cart, stole it and shot the dolly put DK sits in it and I push and he's holding it and we're pushing it like a dolly. And then we'll try and go return the shopping cart again. So you come up with creative ways of doing things. And that's what's happening in this lockdown. That's what happened with the Viral Wedding and a couple of other films I was trying to help and support and stuff. So one feature is done. A bunch of young filmmakers, Telugu filmmakers, they said they had a beautiful story, little story. I said, I'll fund it, but if you tell me, if you show me that you're going to do the same thing. So then they had a story. I said, listen, man, there's always stories, but I don't know how you're going to do. I have never seen a short. Make a short out of this. Show it to me. I'll fund the short if you want, but it doesn't cost you much. All you need is a phone to do this bit. You do this, and if it looks good, I'll make your feature. So this guy actually went and made it. And made the short film, it looked really good. It was funny. It was exactly like how we said it will be raw and fun and all. I said, shit, now I have to fund this. So I said, okay, DK, let's fund this. So 15 of them, 12 of them went to a village and shot an entire feature, their first feature, everybody's first feature. There's not a single person on the team who did a film before or assisted or were an AD or none of that stuff, right? They wrote it, directed it, figured out art, figured out costumes, and made real people act. Like almost couple of them were like raw actors and like new faces. You don't know these people. So they went and shot this short feature film. They got it to me, and it's good. And we sat on it, and that's where we can contribute. Is that we contribute by writing. We sit down, break it down, make it a better screenplay. They come back with the first cut, sit down, make it a better cut, and now it's ready to go. And a really cool platform picked it up, and they're super ecstatic. And it's going to be premiering very soon. So I'm saying it's just resourcefulness at this point, these times especially, just being resourceful and trying to do that with whatever resources you have. I think you can make all kinds of features, and people are open to it, or a series or whatever you want. All kinds of formats are available to you. The best times for filmmakers right now. You can make shorts like you guys are doing here. You can make a series. You can make a micro series. You can make a feature. You can do all kinds of things. So I'm saying just go and do it. Figure out ways to do it.
It's just, I think, the one word called hope. That
Hope.
You just keep living in hope, and that things will happen. So that keeps us all moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shubhashish, for you?
Wow, I'm feeling super charged now after listening to this, and I think the challenges are just going to be people just I think just world challenges, just having to keep safe while you're making stuff. But I think otherwise, I think I think we are all going to go out and try, and I think because of the time of how much time people have been indoors and people have been talking and discussing. I think the next few years, people are going to have enough stories and lots of films are going to come out and lots of series are going to come out, and it's going to be, I don't think people are going to get tired of watching things. So I think the next few years that way, I think is going to be good for a lot of people.
It's a very hopeful thought, and we definitely hope you're right. And there's also this notion that right now, they say that the only sort of films that are really going to draw people back to theaters are your big event films. And your and small films are going to have an even harder time getting packing and getting made and finding an audience. And all of you started with making very small films. So do you think there's any truth to that it's going to be a tough time for smaller films over the next few months?
Okay, that's an industry question. All right. Like in terms of what's going to work, not just a few months. I think I feel things are going to change quite a bit. Not just the next few months, the way forward. We've already seen this change across the globe, minus COVID. Even before COVID, things have changed tremendously. That we stopped getting Forrest Gumps and Pulp Fictions and Shawshank Redemptions in theaters. We only get franchise films across the world, the big ticket films. So that's been happening anyway, and all the films have been relegated. All the indie filmmakers, all the guys who made all these cool films, even the smaller ones, they all were sitting idle for a while. By the way, I feel that I'm always looking up this filmmaker. Oh, what happened to this filmmaker? I haven't seen a film from him, and you realize he hasn't made in 3-4 years. And there'll be an interview where he's been talking about, I don't get funds to make it. And these are all known filmmakers, very known, celebrated filmmakers who were just not into the franchise films, and there were no films out there. But then now, after a couple of years, the second wave, I see that they are the ones making this beautiful series, and you realize, oh, he's made. That's why the series is so good, is because that's the filmmaker who's doing a series. So they found a new home. So yeah, I think the transition happened already in terms of the smaller films not finding home in theaters across the world, and we were the only lucky country, lucky fortunate industry where smaller films were playing in theaters, like from Ashwini's film to Stree to all these films were playing in theaters, and people were going and actually paying money to see it, and they became hits and they became made money. And there nothing like that was happening across the world, by the way, if you observe at those points. This was just our final honeymoon period that we were like, whatever it's called, post honeymoon, the last honeymoon period that we were enjoying, that we had theaters that played our films. And COVID, I feel, is fastening things up in terms of and making you used to TV, and you're watching in TV, and so your viewing habits have changed tremendously in 7 months, even though you don't know it. But I'm still hoping that Indian audience are unique, and they'll still seek out films in theaters, and because that's our primary form of entertainment, and they will still go. But a lot has to be endured, man. The theaters have to survive right now for that to happen. The number of films that are going to be should not get shelved, and should not be, that they don't abandon them because it's costing too much to keep them there. All these are going to play factors. And the first few films that are going to open theaters, and if they are not so good, that's my personal take as an audience. If I go and see, and oh shit, this was the film that I was waiting for, you know what, I'm going to better off being at home watching TV. All these factors are going to play. It's a transitional period. It's no use predicting what's going to happen. But I'm worried about the longer run. 2 years from now, year and a half from now, are theaters going to be the primary source of entertainment, or is it going to be TV? It's going to be on small screen. So we have to wait and watch. And that world has moved on. World has gone to small screen long back. There's no debate about it. But what's going to happen in India is what? Because I would love to have the option of making a film for a theater and a series for a small screen. I had it a year ago. I'm hoping it should be there. So.
Now, I do feel that the way, as creative people, I wouldn't talk about, the part of distribution and the part of what happens later. But as a creative person, from where the germ of an idea comes in, definitely, like I said before, is that I myself have scrapped a whole lot of ideas right now, even after writing a screenplay, that maybe this won't work now in the given circumstances we are in. So yes, that I would not lie to myself, is because, see, a whole lot of money goes into making a feature film, and with the kind of monies and what goes into it, it needs to have, whatever happens, the producer needs to get that kind of returns, right? So it is important that on a script level itself, I be true. Maybe the idea which worked for me 1 year back, when I started writing it, now after this whole situation, maybe doesn't work for me now. It doesn't work for me for a theatrical. And the idea of community viewing, family viewing, that's a joy, when people sit in the theater and smile and laugh and clap, and those things of going into a theater and watching your audience enjoying it, that's a thrill that can never happen inside a house. But the joy of a theater will never diminish. That can never go off, So we just need to think of more ideas and think of more creative ways to keep that alive on this.
Subhashish?
I mean, I think already it was difficult for smaller films to get to cinemas. So I don't think the challenge only increases for them. But at the same time, I feel I don't think theaters are going to die. Maybe they for sure. I think that's too. It's. I think cinema is so much part of our culture, and I think that we have such a varied audience that when a film really stands out, it will end up coming uh, to uh, to the cinemas. Like I think anyway, the trend of smaller films was that 3 or 4 small films a year would really get a chance to flourish in cinema, and then you'd have the big. And I don't think you can replicate the big experience in your homes, but I definitely think that people are watching more, and people are I think they'll coexist, and there will be kind of a shift of how much people are going to the cinema and all. But at the end of the day, it's part of our culture. It's part of us going out. It's a form of entertainment. It's a way for families to get out. It's a date night. It means many things. So I think that once people do feel safe, like yesterday, I took a walk and I saw people were back eating in restaurants, and I realized that yesterday. And maybe 2-3 months ago, you would not even think that people would feel comfortable. So I think slowly when people start feeling comfortable, people will come back. And because at the end of the day, people want big screen experience even on their small screens now. Even on their television, they want that. They want the big screen experience there, but they also want intimate stories. But they also want. So I think there is an audience for everything. I'm optimistic that way, and I think that when something is really going to move or connect with people, it will find a home either in the TV screen or on a. There will be indie films as well. I think that are excellent, that are going to come out of here, that are going to make it to cinema.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was so wonderful to pick your brains, both as jury members as well as look just, where the industry is headed. And just selfishly as an audience, we really look forward to everything, you make next. But yes, thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.